Step here, face away from her, face away.
Get on the ground!
All the way down. All the way
On the ground!
Watch that right.
Now the Southfield police releasing this police body cam video showing the arrest of a Cincinnati woman they say drove to Michigan to carry out a deadly shooting.
Investigators believe it stems from a bitter custody battle over a little girl, and police say the target was the girl's grandmother.
The shooting happened on Bainbridge Drive, not far from the corner of Southfield Road and 13 Mile.
Picture this, a quiet suburban neighborhood in Southfield, Michigan. Tree-lined streets, well-kept homes. Families go about their daily lives. It's the kind of place where neighbors wave to each other, where children play in front yards, where people feel safe. But on one devastating day, the unthinkable happened behind the door of one of these homes, and it was all caught on camera.
Donaldson drove up from Ohio to her mother's home here in Southfield. Surveillance video showing the moment they say Donaldson pulls up to the house, goes in, then comes out in less than 3 minutes after allegedly shooting her mother multiple times. The victim's mother-in-law, who was inside the home with Donaldson's 3-year-old daughter, heard the gunshots, then called her son, who then called police. Investigators say Donaldson left a key piece of evidence behind.
Ada Mae Simmons-Jones was a grandmother who had taken on a responsibility that many would find overwhelming. She wasn't just babysitting or helping out occasionally. Ada had full legal custody of her 3-year-old granddaughter. This wasn't a choice made lightly. Court documents, evaluations, and legal proceedings had determined that this little girl belonged with her grandmother, not with her mother. Ada opened her home and her heart, dedicating her life to raising this child, providing stability, love, and a future that had been uncertain before. But not everyone accepted this decision. Riley Donaldson, Ada's own daughter and the biological mother of the child, lived in Ohio, separated not just by state lines, but by a chasm of anger, resentment, and jealousy. The custody battle had been brutal. Riley had lost, and in her mind, she had lost everything. While Ada was tucking her granddaughter into bed at night, reading her stories, and taking her to the park, Riley was hundreds of miles away, consumed by feelings she couldn't control. The woman who had given her life was now, in Riley's twisted perspective, the enemy who had stolen her child. Have you ever witnessed a family conflict escalate beyond control? Sometimes disagreements over children can bring out the absolute worst in people. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear about your experiences with family disputes and how they were resolved, or if you've seen situations spiral out of control. On the day that would change everything, Riley made a decision. She didn't pack a bag for reconciliation. She didn't bring flowers or an olive branch. Riley Donaldson drove from Ohio to Michigan with one thing in her possession that revealed her true intentions: a gun. The hours-long drive gave her plenty of time to reconsider, to turn back, to choose a different path. But she didn't. When Riley arrived at her mother's home in Southfield, Ada answered the door, likely never imagining what her daughter was capable of. What happened next unfolded with cold brutality. Riley pulled out the firearm and shot her mother, not once in a moment of heated passion, but multiple times. Each pull of the trigger was a choice. Each shot was a decision to end the life of the woman who had raised her, who was now raising her daughter. The 3-year-old granddaughter was in the home, thankfully, physically unharmed, but the trauma what occurred that day would echo through her entire life. In the chaos and aftermath of her violent actions, Riley made a critical mistake. She left behind her purse, complete with her identification. It was as if, even in her rage, she couldn't fully commit to escaping the consequences of what she'd done. What drives a person to this point? How does a custody dispute, something meant to be resolved in courtrooms with lawyers and judges, end in cold-blooded murder? The answers are as disturbing as the crime itself. And what happened next would ensure that Riley Donaldson would face justice for her unforgivable actions.
Ada Mae Simmons-Jones was shot to death in her own home on October 5th. Her 3-year-old granddaughter and 77-year-old mother-in-law were home at the time, but not injured.
This could have ended up being a whodunit situation.
Southfield Police Chief Elvin Barron says detectives followed the clues, which led back to the victim's daughter, 22-year-old Riley Donaldson. Today, police shared some of the evidence they uncovered, like this surveillance video of a car pulling up at the victim's Bainbridge Drive home home just before midnight on the night of the murder. Investigators say that's Donaldson fleeing the scene.
Get on the ground! All the way down.
They say she left critical evidence behind.
After she committed the murder of her mother, she also left behind her purse, which contained identifying items.
Chief Barron says the 45-year-old victim was raising Donaldson's daughter, which led to other conflicts.
We did respond in late August to a call from our victim that her daughter did steal the 3-year-old child that our victim has legal custody of.
There's no question in his mind that Donaldson, who has been diagnosed with a mental illness, acted with intent.
This was planned. It was premeditated.
Friends of Simmons-Jones describe her as kind, generous, and accommodating when it came to her daughter maintaining a relationship with her little girl.
Although she had legal custody of the child, she never refused an opportunity for our suspect to see the child.
I know after this incident occurred, the media was calling, members of the community was calling, because anytime there's a homicide, it does generate a lot of concern in our neighborhood. I did have an opportunity to speak to the husband of the deceased. I spoke to him yesterday. I didn't want to have a press conference and not have had conversation with him to advise him on the nature of the investigation and the press conference. Certainly want to send our condolences to the family. In fact, we do have friends and family who've joined us here in the audience today to hear the sequence of events and our investigation. I want to remind everybody that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In fact, the Southfield Police Department recently completed a Domestic Violence Awareness Walk. I also spoke at the West Bloomfield Henry Ford Silent Witness ceremony that they partner with Haven every year. And one thing that stands out about this month, oftentimes we spend a lot of time when we have discussions about domestic violence centering on intimate partner violence. But another aspect of domestic violence that we're going to have to pay more attention to is family violence. We've seen son kill father. We've seen brother kill sister. And in this case, unfortunately, daughter kills the mother. So family violence is worthy of those conversations and resources as well. So this incident began on Sunday, October 5th at approximately 11:40 p.m. Southfield police officers were dispatched to the 18,000 block of Bainbridge Drive on report of a shooting that just occurred. Southfield police and fire arrived on scene and immediately began life-saving measures on an unresponsive female. Despite those efforts by first responders, the victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. While rendering first aid, first responders observed several spent casings and observed the victim with a gunshot wound to the chest, back, and a graze wound to her head. The victim was identified as 45-year-old Southfield resident Ada Mae Simmons-Jones. Southfield officers determined that the 77-year-old female and a 3-year-old child were present in the home at the time the shooting occurred. However, both were unharmed. The 77-year-old female is a resident of the home, and she's the victim's mother-in-law, who does have some physical health challenges. She heard approximately 3 to 4 gunshots and then heard someone run outside the front door. Our officers responded to the scene and began collecting evidence, surveillance video, and our detectives really worked tirelessly on this case. Southfield officers and detectives searched the home, canvassed the area for surveillance videos, and utilized advanced technology to determine the sequence of events. Neighborhood surveillance video captured a dark-colored Chrysler 300 drive down Bainbridge and pull into the driveway where the shooting occurred. The suspect, later identified as Riley Donaldson, exits the driver's side of the vehicle and approaches the front door of the residence. Minutes later, Donaldson is seen exiting the residence, enter the front driver's seat of the Chrysler 300, and quickly speed away from the crime scene. And you're going to see that later on when I show that video. However, in a hurry to flee from the scene, Our suspect left her purse behind, which contained identifying items. Our suspect, and I'm going to remind you, the daughter of our victim, is a resident of Cincinnati, Ohio, and does not reside at that home. We believe that the gun was concealed inside of that purse as she entered that home. The investigation also revealed through phone records that our suspect was at the home during the time of the shooting. And that's why I mentioned the importance of using technology in these investigations. Our investigation also determined that Donaldson purchased a 2017 Chrysler 300 from a private seller on October 5th of this year. And I bring that up because when you look at the video is grainy, but you can still see the silhouette of the Chrysler 300 if you know your vehicles. Our detectives continued using technology to strengthen our case, and immediately following the shooting, she fled to Ohio, just outside of Toledo, in the area of Lake Township and Pittsburgh Township, where she remained in that area for approximately 2 hours and then drove to the city of Detroit. And I'm going to pause here. So I'm going to tell you, this investigation revealed that this homicide, this murder, was premeditated. And immediately following the shooting, as I stated in my remarks, she fled to Ohio. And we did contact both those cities' police departments because she was there for about 2 hours. We believe that somewhere between the time of the shooting and in her path towards Ohio, we believe she may have discarded that weapon. So we did ask those agencies to search the general area. However, they were not able to locate the gun. On Monday, October 6th, at approximately 1:30 p.m., Southfield detectives and detectives from the Oakland County Auto Theft Task Force and our Southfield Tactical Crime Suppression Unit located the black Chrysler 300 occupied by our suspect in the area of Finkel and St. Mary's in the city of Detroit. Detectives set up surveillance and followed the vehicle to a CVS at the 7 Mile location in the area of Greenfield in the city of Detroit. The Chrysler 300 was backed into a parking spot in front of the store, and 3 males were also in the car with Donaldson. The investigation revealed that these 3 men did not have anything to do with the homicide. Detectives observed our suspect Donaldson as a front seat passenger in the front seat of the Chrysler 300. Responding officers initiated a traffic stop of the vehicle, and Donaldson was taken into custody without incident. And I will show that video here momentarily. I also want to put some context to this because oftentimes when you have a homicide, particularly you talk about a daughter killing her mother, there must have been some type of conflict. So what we determined is that on Friday, August 22nd of this year, right around 4:30 p.m., Southfield officers were dispatched to the same home on a report of a missing child. The reporting party was our deceased, Miss Ada Mae Simmons-Jones, where she contacted Southfield Dispatch and stated that her daughter, our suspect, Riley Donaldson, had taken her granddaughter, whom Mrs. Simmons-Jones has legal guardianship over the 3-year-old child. And yes, that's the child that was at the home at the time of the shooting. She further advised dispatch that our suspect suffered from mental illness and that she stole her vehicle and took the 3-year-old child and the family dog. The victim's vehicle, which was a Kia Sedona, that was taken by a suspect, was recovered by the Swanson Police Department in Toledo, Ohio, along with a 3-year-old child who was unharmed. However, the dog was never recovered. On Wednesday, August 27th of the same year, the victim, Ms. Jones, she did not wish to pursue criminal charges for the theft of the vehicle or for the taking of the grandchild. And probably because, as you know, we love our children and didn't necessarily want to prosecute her daughter. However, Ms. Jones did petition for her daughter to be hospitalized, and Southfield police officers did take her into custody and then transfer her to common ground for a mental health evaluation. When you look at the criminal history of our suspect, she does not have a criminal history, but with our evidence and our investigation, the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office did authorize charges for Riley Donaldson. Again, she's 22 years old. She's a resident of Cincinnati, Ohio. And count 1, homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated. Count 2, weapons, felony firearm. She was given no bond, and her next court date is scheduled for October 27th of this year at 9:45 a.m. Before Judge Johnson. And so I'm going to spend a little bit of time, talking about the fact that, again, this was premeditated. The prosecutor's office agreed, issued those charges, and I know your next question will surround me regarding mental health and how do you hold individuals accountable. So in my 28 years of policing, I've seen severe mental illness where that person doesn't understand what they're doing. What I'll tell you, this isn't it. And when you look at our contacts with our suspect, and you'll see it in the video, when she's arrested, she refers to herself, when the officers asked her name, refers to herself as God. Also, when our detectives brought her to the station and began to interview or attempt to interview her, she immediately asked for a lawyer. So she's very conscious of the legal system. She's very conscious of calling herself God, because you all know when individuals do that declaration, they're letting us know that they decide who lives and who dies. And so, again, we're not going to allow anyone to use mental health as escape. There's a process for that where a judge will decide whether a person is deemed fit to stand trial for mental illness through a process. But again, our evidence with the way the shooting took place at 11:40 at night, the way you're going to see this vehicle hurry up and escape the crime scene, the fleeing to Ohio to remove yourself from the state of Michigan, particularly Southfield, Michigan, in a close proximity of the time of the shooting, so that you could say that you were in Ohio, not knowing that technology is going to place you at the home at the time of the shooting, not knowing that technology is going to allow us as a police department to track your movements from the crime scene all the way to Ohio. And so, with that being said, I'm going to dim these lights, and we're going to show the moment in which the Chrysler 300 arrived at the home to commit this heinous crime. Please lower the lights and play the video.
Is there audio associated with this video?
No audio. But it will be audio, I'm sorry, it will be audio for the arrest. I'm going to show the arrest as well, where you're going to hear her call herself God. And before you push play, look at the top. When the car pulls into the driveway, I want you to notice the floodlight comes on when she exits the house. The floodlight comes on when she leaves the house. And also the top of the car, you'll see our suspect, it's grainy, but you can see it's a female with a bonnet on. And it will be the same look as when we locked her up for her crimes. But play the video, please. And when this vehicle exits or flees, watch how the vehicle appears to drive into a ditch, quickly trying to escape. Again, that's someone who's conscious of what they're doing. Now, the next video we're going to show is Southfield police officers, Oakland County Auto Theft Task Force, and our detectives' arrest after, again, surveillance operation took place.
Just watch that back. You want to get out? Yeah. Hands up. Hands up. I got it. Hands up, hands. That's all right. Hands high. Step to your face away, face away. Get on the ground. All the way down. On the ground. Want that right?
There might be someone in the backseat. I can't tell. Maybe is there anybody else in the backseat?
That's ready? That's good. Grab your stomach. Grab your stomach. Stomach. Arms out. Arms out. Arms out. Just 1 minute.
I got you.
That's all yours.
I got another thing. Thank you, please.
Must be a call where it was. Stop around that curve. Front. You can get out. You can. Watch front. You got more, one thing. Push the weight. Run it down.
And the next would be a still of the vehicle, again, that Chrysler 300, just for your information purposes. All right, this time we can turn the lights back on and then the media refocus. All right, at this point, I'm going to open up the floor for questions from our reporters in the room. Yeah, so I believe that that's a contributing factor to the conflict between mother and daughter was the custodial rights of the child. What I'm told by family is that the mother was very accommodating to the suspect, allowing her to see the child pretty much whenever she wanted to see the child. But again, through conflicts between mother-daughter relationship, probably upset that her mother has legal custody, it probably brewed other conflicts and arguments that may have led up to the homicide. We never will really know the full extent of why someone would choose to kill their mother, but we do believe that it does center around the possibility of the custodial arrangements with the 3-year-old child.
The evidence left at the scene made Riley Donaldson's arrest swift and inevitable. Her purse, containing her identification, was found at her mother's home, a damning piece of evidence that immediately pointed investigators in her direction. Law enforcement moved quickly, and Riley was taken into custody and charged with first-degree premeditated murder and felony firearm possession. These aren't charges that suggest a moment of lost control or an accident. First-degree premeditated murder means prosecutors believe Riley planned this, that she made the conscious decision to travel from Ohio to Michigan with the specific intent to kill her own mother. The legal consequences Riley faces are severe. First-degree murder in Michigan carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. There's no room for early release, no chance for parole hearings. If convicted, Riley will spend the rest of her life behind bars, paying for those fatal decisions she made that day. But beyond the courtroom and the prison cells, there's a deeper tragedy that we need to address. This case isn't just about one woman's violent choice. It's about what happens when we let jealousy, anger, and the need for control consume us. The title of this case says it all. You are not God. No matter how wrong we feel, no matter how unfair we believe a situation to be, we do not have a right to take another person's life. We are not the ultimate judges. We are not executioners. Think about the ripple effects of Riley's actions. Ada Mae Simmons-Jones is dead, a grandmother who was simply trying to provide a stable, loving home for her granddaughter. Riley herself will likely spend the rest of her life in prison, removed from society, from any chance of redemption or relationship with her daughter. And that 3-year-old child? She's lost both her grandmother and her mother. She'll grow up knowing the horrific circumstances of how her family was destroyed. What do you think should happen to Riley Donaldson? In cases where family disputes turn deadly, is there ever room for understanding, or should the full weight of the law come down without mercy? We want to hear your perspective. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Custody battles are painful. Losing access to your child can feel like the end of the world. But there are legal channels, mediation services, counseling, and appeals processes designed to handle these disputes. The moment we step outside those boundaries and take matters into our own hands, especially with violence, we don't just destroy one life. We destroy many. If this case has moved you, if it's made you think about the consequences of unchecked rage and the importance of respecting the legal process even when it hurts, hit that like button for more in-depth coverage of cases that force us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature. And please share this video. Spread awareness about how family conflict should never, ever reach this point. Together, we can start conversations that might just prevent the next tragedy. Remember, you are not God. Choose life. Choose peace. Choose a legal path, no matter how difficult it may be.